Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. I'm Eloise and this is Eloise Reads. I have seen a lot of people be doing the mid-year book freak out tag, and I thought because I've just started my channel and because I missed 6 months of the year, it would be a great early video to do so you can see the type of books I've been reading, what I've been liking, what I've not been liking, and yeah, just catch you a bit on my January to June reads if you were interested. Now sorry, I'm unorganised, I'm just getting the questions. I will tag the original creator, and as everyone says, my links to my Instagram and my Goodreads are in the description box below. So, why am I out of breath? Deep breaths. Okay, right, so the first question is the best book you've read so far this year, and this is really easy for me, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I read this in May, and so very recently, and so far nothing has even, well, one book has come very close, but I'll talk about the book later because it's in one of my other categories. But yeah, this was the obvious choice for me, and I'd be very surprised if anything does beat it. We have got 6 months left, anything can happen, but this book is a masterpiece. So I'm sure you've seen this book, I'm sure you've heard of it, I'm sure a lot of you have read it or seen vlogs on people reading it. You know the tears that come with this book, you know the heartbreak that comes with this book, right? Am I right? So we follow the lives of 4 boys just out of college. That is Jude, Willem, JB and Malcolm. And whilst we follow them all, I would say Jude is like the main character who we all follow the most, who we really feel for the most. They are all well developed characters that you care, and you end up caring about them all. And this isn't a plot heavy book, this is very much a character driven book, and yeah, we follow their lives from college until they get older, and we follow their friendship, and when a friendship has lasted for decades, naturally that comes with, you know, the high highs and the low lows, and we follow them through all of that. But the particular thing we follow in this book revolves around is Jude and his troubled past and how he deals with that and how that's affecting him in the present. This book, first of all, whilst it is absolutely stunning and a total masterpiece, I do not recommend it. I recommend, if you think this sounds interesting to you, you need to look into the trigger warnings that come with this. Some will be considered spoilers, however, I really do think that you need to be aware of the types of stuff included in this. I have done a review on this on my Instagram, shameless plug, but that does list trigger warnings, so I will link that. But I would also suggest don't just go off my review and my trigger warnings, because I have to admit there are a lot, so I may miss them out, so definitely go ahead and research it yourself. But it's a long one, it's 720 pages, and if I show you the text very quickly, it's small, it's condensed, and it does take a lot of concentration, and it might be that it takes you a while. I know a lot of people, including myself, did have to put it down when it got to some particularly harrowing parts, but I couldn't get enough, that's the wrong term, but I just could not stay away from this book. I flew through it because, yeah, I couldn't stay away. I needed to know how these characters were, I missed them. And I left this book. Again, if you're interested, there are highlights on my Instagram of my reaction to the ending of this book, and I sobbed my heart out. I've never cried so much at a book as I did at this one, and I'm a crybaby. So yeah, this is 100% my book of the year so far. Wouldn't say I loved it, but it is a masterpiece. I've said that word so many times, but this book really is a masterpiece. So that is my book of the year. So I am reading off my phone. I don't know why I showed you, why would I lie? So the next book The next question even is the best sequel you've read this year. So this is the other book that was a strong contender for my book of the year so far. I don't have it at the moment because I've lent my sister the whole series, and I'm actually on about the last book of the series, and that is, I'll put something here, or maybe here, don't know, and that book is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas, and it is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. Now very briefly, the Throne of Glass series follows Selena, and she is taken from a prison where she's been captured as being known as the best assassin in the whole of this world that this book is based in, and she is released, and not released, but she is taken from the salt mine prison, and she is the gosh, I read the first book so long ago, I don't have it with me. She is she's put forward to kind of battle amongst other people who have done wrong, and some haven't, I don't think. They just put themselves forward to become the king's champion. The king is not the nicest man, but the winner will get to basically be freed of their imprisonment, and they will be the king's assassin. So Selena is entered into these duels, and we follow her throughout that. There are some other characters, a bit of, you know, that might go on, but it's not smutty. And yeah, I am talking rubbish. The series is 8 books long? 8 books long, I want to say. And Kingdom of Ash is the last book. And yes, I cried. I did cry so much at this book. Like, I haven't cried as much, but this was this close to the amount of tears I cried, and I can't say anything at all about the book. But I do think with the series, the first 3 books of the series, well no, more the first 2, I was very underwhelmed by. I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas after reading the A Court of Thorns of Roses series, which is my all-time favourite series, shock. And I read this after that, and the first 2 I was very underwhelmed by, but I had seen a lot of people say wait till the 3rd book, it gets better and better, and they were right, it did get better and better. And by the last book I was just obsessed with all these characters. Can you imagine reading 8 books on the same characters? Obsessed. And the last book is heartbreaking, it's intense, it's fast paced. I mean, it's nearly 1,000 pages long, but it's if I can encourage you to read that series, I really hope I have. It's so good, and that is 100% by far the best sequel I've read this year. Admittedly, I've not read many, but that is the best one. Okay, next question. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I picked for this Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard, and I've got the gorgeous sprayed edges of the Waterstones exclusive edition. I'm just realising now I haven't prepped for this, and I don't really know what this is about, other than I think it's about, like, what if the, you know, the top heroes of the world weren't about to save the world, and it was left to a bunch of, like, you know, the last choice or the second choice to save the world. What if you had to rely on them? That's all I know about this book. I know it includes a lot of POVs, but I've not really read much into this book. I've not read any reviews. I've not read the Red Queen series by this author, but what I've seen I've heard quite mixed reviews on. So I thought I'd start with this one, and if I like it, hopefully I will. I'll continue the series, and I might go back to the Red Queen series. But I've had it a little while now, it's been out a couple of months, and I'm keen to get to it soon. I had so little to say on that one because I was so underprepared. Okay. Your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So for me it would be, oh, I've got a few pre-ordered. I think I'm going to go with something a bit different. I'm going to go with How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. So Bella Mackie wrote the 2 Jog On books, non-fiction books about how jogging helped with her mental health, and I really enjoyed those. I really enjoyed her her writing style and how she approached the difficult subject, which is mental health, in a way that I felt like I could resonate with and was quite easy to read. If you didn't know, Bella Mackie is the wife of the Radio 1 breakfast presenter Greg James, and I follow her on Instagram and I have done for a long time, and I really like her. I like her opinions and how she comes across, and I have seen quite good reviews from those who have been lucky enough to get an early preview of this book, and I feel like it'll be quite funny. I get the feeling it's going to be funny, so I'm really looking forward to that. There are obviously others like Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, Defy the Night, I think it's called, by Bridget Kemmerer. I'm trying to think of others. I think the second Thursday Murder Club is out this year, which I can't wait for that either. So yeah, a lot, but I mean there's never enough time to read all these books, but I have a few I want to get to. I'm gonna start again. So the biggest disappointment of the year, I have two. The first one is Exciting Times by Nisha Doolan, which I will pop a picture of here as I unhaul all the books I don't really like. It's all with the teeth. I've just done it again. I did it the first time. The toothbrush is on it. And this is a book about, I can't remember the woman's name, I'm really sorry, but she is teaching English as a foreign language teacher in Hong Kong, and she lives there. I think it's like a gap year, she doesn't really know what she's doing with her life. She meets a man whose name I also can't remember, and I mean he doesn't want to be with her, but they kind of I think they kind of, you know, have sex when he feels like it. And she moves in with him, but in the separate bedroom. He still don't want to be with her, but she will happily live in his spare bedroom and also spend money on his credit card. And then she meets a woman whose name I also can't remember, who is probably the character I like most, and she kind of gets into a bit of a relationship with her, even though she kind of still talks and maybe sees this guy now and then, and still spends his money, lives in his house. And it was likened to Sally Rooney's writing. I've only read one book by Sally Rooney, which is Normal People, and I loved it. So I've pre-ordered her newest one. Ah, that's a book I'm really looking forward to. That is an anticipated release. I've pre-ordered it. Beautiful World, Where Are You? I think it's called. Yes, that is one of the books I'm really looking forward to. And I have got conversations with friends. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll point it anyway, on my TBR. Anyway, I waffle. I loved Normal People, and so I was like, I'm gonna love this book. Yeah, I hated every single page of the book. I gave it 2 stars. I don't really know why. I think in my mind it's more of a 1 star, and I only finished it and because it was part of a book club read. I couldn't tell you one thing I liked about that book. I absolutely hated it. So that is my biggest disappointment. And then the other one would be the general series of Shadow and Bone, and I'm so sorry to say that. I just did not like them at all. The first book was okay. The second book was one of the worst books I've read this year. I'm so sorry, and I was convinced I would love the series. Nothing happened in the second book, and I really hate the fact, sorry, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, so if you want to skip my little spoiler on the Shadow and Bone bit, do it now. They like kill mystical creatures for power. I don't want to read about that. No, I don't care. I don't want to read about that. Don't agree with it. No. Disappointment. Next question. I just need to unlock my phone to get. Your biggest surprise so far this year? So for me, again, my sister is currently borrowing this book, so I will pop a picture of it here. My biggest surprise would be a book called Insatiable by Daisy Buchanan. Now, I bought this book because this is probably one of my favourite covers on a book for a very long time. I just love it, and if it wasn't such a filthy book, it'd probably be one I put on my coffee table, but like, it is filthy. So we follow our protagonist Violet, who I believe is 26 and living in London, and she has broken off an engagement. She's in a job that she's not really loving. She feels a bit lost in her life and doesn't know what she wants to do with it. and then she meets a couple who, I'm sure it's Simon and I cannot remember the wife's name, I'm so sorry, and they seem to have this perfect job, this perfect proposition for her. They actually give her a whole lot more. So first of all, this book is bloody filthy. Like, I'm talking a lot of sexual content, a lot of more than one person sexual content, I'm talking group scenes. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah, so it's probably one you don't really want to read on a train. Probably one you want to read in your room. Well, not just your room, but any room, but in your personal space. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's filthy, it's dirty, but it's freaking hilarious. It's so funny. It's very much, if you like Dolly Alderton, I'm sure you will like this book. It's not a very deep, it's a quick read. A lot of people don't like it, and I can see why. I don't know, and I really thought I would dislike it because I think I've seen more negative reviews than positive, but I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was great. It does cover some topics and about like eating disorders and mental health, and they're not tackled in a very serious way, I would say, and they probably could, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but they're not dealt with in a very serious way. Not that they're like taking the mickey out of, but they're not like deeply dived into and explored and dealt with, if you know what I mean. I will say that, and perhaps the ending is a little bit too, fits together too perfectly, but I loved it, and it was a big surprise for me because I thought I would hate it. So that is 100% my biggest surprise of the year. Next question. Your new favourite author? Just looking at my book. Sorry, I just keep turning away. So I don't really like to base my new favourite author on a person I've only read one book from. However, other than authors I've already read like last year, the new authors I've read, I've only read one book of, so I am going to have to base it on that. And so far I would say my new favourite author is probably The Prison Healer is not my new favourite author. It's probably Lynette Noni, who wrote The Prison Healer, and this is the gorgeous FREAKOUT edition with the lovely stencilled edges and the, one moment please, and this gorgeous embossed cover, I think that's the right word. And this is a YA fantasy, and it was really bloody good. I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to put the dust jacket on. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant. We follow, I'm so bad with names. I was going to say a name that it isn't. We follow Kiva. I'm so sorry, I just keep going blank. We follow Kiva, and she is a healer at the prison of Zalandov, and basically if you go to Zalandov you never leave, and she is there for reasons kind of unknown at the start, but she's 17 and she is the prison healer, so with that she gets some tricky jobs, but also perhaps what's considered some privileges. And then one day the rebel queen is kind of not delivered, that's so wrong. The rebel queen is brought to the prison in a not very well state, like she's near death, and with her comes like an encrypted coded note that says, "Don't let her die, we are coming." And the rebel queen needs to do some ordeals by trial by ordeals, sorry, and they are trials that if she lives she will get freedom. Now Kiva knows, it's very obvious that the rebel queen is not in any fit state to undertake these trials, so she puts herself forward in her place, and we follow her through the 4 trials and how she does. Yeah, I really liked it. I flew through it. It's quite fast paced, there's not a lot of depth and world building, which worked in this book, and there's a little bit of romance, yeah, I loved it. And by the end, well, at the end, I literally was like, no, was not expecting that. Oh my gosh, I need the next one. And I love it when I finish a book like that, because that means it's had a real impact on me. It means I was like, didn't see that coming, and that's what I like in a book. So if you like YA fantasy, I would really recommend this book. If you like the Throne of Glass series, I feel like you would like this book. If you like Sarah J Maas in general, to be honest, I think you would like this book. It is more YA than SJM. If you've read ACOTAR, yeah, it's not on that level of smut, I mean. But this is a really good book, and I highly recommend. Next question. Your new fictional crush. So my new fictional crush would be Red from Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. Again, another book I'm late to the party with. I read this very recently in May, and so before the last 2 years or so, I pretty much exclusively read like romance type books, and I was like, that's all that's for me. And because I've now realised that's not the case, and I like many other genres, I've kind of read less and less romance books. So this is one that I've seen a lot of, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need to read that to see if I still love romance books. This was a 5-star read for me. Red is just, you know, he's the kind of guy I would go for. He's sensitive, he's caring, he cares about things which Chloe feels like not many people do, such as her chronic pain, and she feels like no one would understand. I'm not necessarily saying Red understands, but he is there for her, and is concerned about her chronic pain and wants the best for her. But he's also been through some stuff himself, and is therefore quite sensitive and needs someone confident like Chloe to help him gain his confidence, I guess. But also, there are some seriously steamy scenes in this book. I was here for that. I was here for that. Yeah, Red is sexy. So he's my newest crush. Yeah. But so this is part of a trilogy, and it follows the 3 Brown sisters. I've got Take a Hint, Danny Brown on my shelf to be read, and I need to get the 3rd book, which is, I can't remember the bloody title of, it's Eve Brown. Yeah, they're really good, they're funny, they're steamy, they're very inclusive. I would recommend. Okay, nearly there. A book that made you cry. So obviously, as I've mentioned, A Little Life and Kingdom of Ash made me cry. I'm just gonna have to say both of them again because, oh no, I'm not, that is a lie. One moment please. That is a lie. The book that made me cry, other than those 2 books which really did make me cry, I'm gonna cough, was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I'm sure many of you will have read this book, and if not read it, you would have heard of it. You would have heard of this author. This is probably one of my top books of the year so far. I feel like I was so late to reading it. I read it and I had to get the hardback edition after reading it because I loved it so much. We follow, funnily enough, Evelyn Hugo, and she is like a global Hollywood phenomenon. First came like Hollywood era of like the 50s, I think she first like came to her stardom, and we follow her through the decades in an interview that's carried out by Evelyn when she's in her 80s with a journalist called Monique. Now, Evelyn will not, in the current day, is not involved in like the press and fame. She's very much keeps herself to herself, a private life, but she has said she will do one last interview, but it has to be with Monique. So there's a mystery surrounding why that's the case, and she takes us through her years of fame and her 7 husbands. And I feel like if you don't know much about this book, from the title you will go in judging Evelyn a little bit. I did. But I love Evelyn. I love Evelyn Hugo. I love the story. The story is beautiful, it's sad, it's just everything. This book is perfection. I loved it so much. Most people love this book. It is a hyped book. It is worth the hype. and if you've not read it and want a bit of a contemporary historical fiction that will, oh, I just know you'll love it. I just know you'll love it. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a must read in my opinion. I highly recommend it, and yeah, I was sobbing by the end, unsurprisingly. My next, almost there, a book that made me happy. I feel like a book that made me happy, the book I've chosen is a book that's going to be featuring a lot of these videos, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. So we follow Linus Baker, who works for the department in charge of magical youth. Sorry, I couldn't remember what the exact title was. And he goes and visits orphanages for children and decides and makes sure they follow the regulations that are set out by the department. He is tasked to go and visit an orphanage, this one right here, where the children are considered extremely dangerous, could have serious detrimental effects to the world, and therefore he needs to go and check if everything is okay. I'd seen 5-star reviews on this. I have to be honest, like, it didn't sound like my kind of thing, but I trust the people of the bookish internet, okay? If a book is hyped, I'm a sucker for it and I'm straight there. And I loved it. It's a book about found family, about finding what you really want in life, and it's just a book of joy, to be honest with you. It's just a lovely book of joy. If you want, like, it is fantasy, but it's mostly a book about found family and finding where you belong and not judging a book by its cover, and it just filled me with so much happiness. So there's my answer to that one. Okay, sorry guys. The most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. So this is not the June FREAKOUT book, but the May FREAKOUT book. So, I mean, I got it in June because it's a bit delayed, so I think it's considered the May FREAKOUT book. But if you haven't seen it and don't want to see it, I'm showing it now. And that is A Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart. Just look how beautiful this book is. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't know very much about this book. It's so bad. But I don't really want to read the synopsis off of the page because that doesn't really, it's not very interesting, is it? So it's about two witches that are enemies, but they enter a deadly alliance to take down the woman who threatens both their worlds. That's all I know on it. I've seen good things. It's a very recent release, but I just think this book is stunning, so it's my pick. Books to read by the end of the year is the final question, so I can stop being rude and looking at my phone. So at the start of the year, I set myself 21 books I wanted to read in 2021. I've still got a few of those left, so I thought I'd quickly show you them now, and then at the end of the year we can see if I've actually read them all. So I actually have read most of my books on this list, which is great news, but I do have some left. I'm not really going to go through the synopsis because you don't want to hear me wobble on much longer, and my battery is about to die. So it stopped recording because I'd reached the maximum time I could talk for. So I've definitely been talking too long. Okay, so the first is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I've heard this book is great. It's part of a trilogy. I've got the second book. The size of it does intimidate me, to be honest, but I want to read it before I watch the TV show. I've heard it's great. I keep putting it off. I hope to get to it. Next is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, which I understand is a King Arthur retelling. I've heard excellent things. I was surprised because this is YA fantasy, I think. The writing is tiny and it's quite a chunky book, so maybe that's why I've been putting it off. I've heard good things. I need to get to it. Next is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So I also own The Starless Sea by this author and I'm yet to read either of them, but this was on my list. I've heard that her writing is very lyrical and poetic, and I feel like it won't be a very plot heavy book. I'm a bit nervous about whether I like this. I've heard mixed things, but majority positive. We'll see if I like it. Next is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, which has been on my TBR for a very, very, very long time. I've had mixed feelings to Lisa Jewell books. I really didn't like The House We Grew Up In. I really didn't like that book. But I've heard good things about this one. As I said, it's been on my TBR for a very long time, so I need to get to it soon. Next is So Lucky by Dawn O. Porter. I don't really know much about this. I think we follow the lives of 3 women. And the reason I got it is because I've seen lots of people talk about it and like it. And I thought I'd give it a go, and I really like the cover. So there's that one. Next is A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Backman. Another YouTube and Instagram favourite. Yeah, I need to read it. I want to read it. It's been on my TBR again for a very long time. And finally is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Whenever I say to people I've not read this yet, they can't believe it because it's a lot of people's favourite book. I believe it's written by, like, Death is the narrator, I think it's based in Nazi Germany. Yeah, I think. But I don't really know anything else about it, but I need to read it. Another chunky one that scares the crap out of me. I hope to read it. And those are all the books that I'm going to feature in this video. I've talked for ages. I hope it was okay. I feel like future Eloise has got a lot of editing to do. Thank you so much for watching. I would absolutely love it if you stuck around, if you subscribed to my channel and gave this video a big fat like. If you've made it to the end, let me know some of your answers to these questions, or if you've done a video on this tag, let me know and I will check out your video. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye!